G'day everyone, welcome back to another Power Rankings video on the channel. As always, we like to do these after every 5 rounds of the home and away season, and I'm going to be ranking the teams today after round 15. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy today's video, and let's get straight into it. Alright, so we will start off with 18th as always, and I'm going to be going with last place here, the West Coast Eagles. When you do consider Richmond and also North Melbourne have picked up a win inside the last month of footy, whilst the Eagles have dropped a few games where they had control but they've let it slip away, like against the Saints and also North Melbourne. I've just got to put them last here. From what we've seen this year of the Eagles, there's going to be plenty of good and also plenty of bad because they are still in that rebuilding phase. There's been a massive difference with them without Harley Reid. The last 2 weeks without him, they have dropped their games against North Melbourne and also Essendon. But I can tell you what, they have been a much more competitive side this year. Also were able to push the Dons quite well at Marvel Stadium last week and get on top of the clearances. And we all know when they're on song, the Eagles say can be a good clearance side. But at the moment, without a win the last month, I have them in 18th. In 17th place here, going to be going with the Richmond Tigers, just with how North Melbourne have been going the last 2 weeks, really pushing Collingwood and Melbourne quite well. I have to put the Tigers here. They have just been hammered with injuries pretty much all year long. I've just heard that Tom Lynch could potentially be out for quite some time once again with a hamstring problem. They've been able to show some great competitiveness. Obviously, that was a really resilient win over the Crows at Adelaide Oval. Let's not forget that 2 weeks ago. The Tigers are definitely capable of pinching a result here or there for the back half of the season, and also they will continue to be a thorn in a lot of good teams heading into the back half of the year. So I've got the Tigers in 17th. Which leaves in 16th place, got to be putting North Melbourne here. Their last 3 or 4 weeks now has been a massive improvement. Finally picked up their first win of the season against the Eagles, where they, let's be honest, they beat the Eagles around the footy really well. Obviously pushed the Pies and lost that game by 1 point, but they were up by around 10 goals. They're sort of North Bull that we heard a lot about in the preseason is starting to show a little bit more now. Their ball movement has been pretty exciting. They're starting to get on top now of the clearance game. Luke Davies-Uniacke is in a rich vein of form. Cherry's been battling this year so well, and I feel like now they are starting to play with a bit of confidence too. Harry Sheezel's been a great move forward of centre. George Wardlaw's last month of footy has been fantastic. Players like Jackson Archer and Paul Curtis starting to show some glimpses as well. So things are starting to head in the right direction, I think, for the Kangas. Could definitely pinch a few more results should the form keep up. And I've got them in 16th. In 15th place here, I've just got to be going with the Adelaide Crows. I look at this side and I just see the upside they have, almost making finals last year. Usually at home, they're a very tough side to beat, but they've just been the polar opposite this year. Not playing with much confidence at all. The cohesion's just gone out the window. Their method has been ultra inconsistent this year. They are able to get a lot of points from defensive half, and then you watch them the next week. They just move it slow, and they have no idea what they're doing when getting it out of the back half. Their midfield has been well beaten. They've now thrown Rory Laird behind the ball. Dawson's been a bit up and down. They've dropped Riley O'Brien and now playing a 5-gamer in Kieran Strachan. There's confidence issues as well with the likes of Josh Rachele. Fogarty's output has been a little bit underwhelming this year. So I still feel like they have definitely got the upside with the talent they have on their list. Like Max Michelani has really now turned out to be a solid pick, and Jake Saligo's had some great individual performances. It's going to be a big next few games to see if they can finally pick up a few more wins in the winners column, because only 4 wins for the season, dropping a lot of games at home this year. Just has not been the year for the Crows, and I've got them in 15th. In 14th place, I'm going to be going with St Kilda here. Another side that's just been ultra inconsistent this year. Last 5 games, I've won 2. And credit to them, it was a good 4th quarter in the end from the Saints getting that win over the Eagles. And through strong defensive work, they were able to get the win over the Suns too. The biggest issue this year, the Saints, they just can't put enough points on the board. They were able to hit the ton against the Lions, but the game was really over anyway when they were coming back in that 4th quarter. When the Saints are at their best, they can move the footy really well end to end, but we just haven't seen that consistently. Forward of centre, their forward structure has really let them down. The midfield as well has been exposed. It's just been an up and down year for the Saints, only picking up 2 wins of their last 5 games, sitting in 14th, and I've got the Saints on the power rankings in 14th. In 13th position, I'm going to be going with the Gold Coast Suns. It's just been a massive difference between them winning home and away. Looking at them home, they've picked up 7 wins. Looking at their record away, they've picked up 7 losses, and their record is 7-7. They've just looked like a shell of themselves when they do go south of the border. At their best, the Suns, they can look like this really damaging team out of the middle with 𝐓𝐶 𝐿, Noah Anderson, and Matt Rowell's really improved his numbers this year. Ben King for the ball has been a big target, now out with an injury, which you do hate to see. Behind the ball, Sam Collins has really flown under the radar, and also Macca has been an intercepting beast. It's just collectively as a side, whenever they seem to go away, they just become a much more vulnerable team. They're a boring side away from home. They can't move the footy that great, and it's going to be a massive test against the Pies this weekend. Can they defend their fortress at home? But just really massive inconsistencies this year. But still, it's the first year for Damien Hardwick as their coach, so it's going to be obviously a lot of growing pains too. They've run a lot of young players the last few weeks, or the last, pretty much now, the last 2 months. Let's remember 𝐼𝐻𝐺, Jake Rogers, all those likes. But yeah, got the Suns in 13th. In 12th place, I'm going to be going with Port Adelaide here. They have had a horrific last 5 weeks. Let's be honest, did they deserve to pick up that win against the Hawks? They weren't the better team. A pretty standard win against North Melbourne whilst they were struggling. And then a terrible fall term against the Blues. Could not move the ball at all against the Giants, and probably one of their worst losses in quite some time against the Lions. They are just mentally and physically shot at the moment, Port Adelaide. They can't move the ball. They are getting killed defensively at the moment. You see some camera footage on some footy shows and you're questioning what on earth are their defenders doing. They're getting killed one-on-one. Their midfield is definitely their strong suit, but remember, it's still a young midfield. Like Willem, Drew, Butters, Rosie, Horne-Francis, still very young players, so there's going to be some inconsistencies in there too. Not much aggressive forwards too, like Todd Marshall and Geordie Artis have issues attacking the footy up in the air. Willie Rioli's been a big out for them, to be fair, the last month or so. Kane Hinkley's now under the pump. They're just not looking like this brilliant ball moving side that they have been able to show the last few years. It just isn't looking great at the moment, and quite simply, I know they're sitting in 8th, but they've got to be pretty low down in the power rankings based off their current form, and I'm not liking them heading in the back half of the year, especially with Kane Hinkley under the pump, so got the pair in 12th. In 11th place, got another disappointing side similar to Port Adelaide, and that is the Melbourne Football Club. They are also pushing a top 8 spot at the moment. They got a pretty unconvincing win against the Kangas. They went goalless in the last term and almost choked that game, but the last 5 weeks isn't looking pretty for them as well. A massive issue is they just can't put points on the board. Defensively, without Jake Lever, they are looking killed structure-wise. Petrarca out for the rest of the season is going to hurt them big time. Who's after Petrarca, Oliver and Gawn? There's just not much depth there, and that's been probably their issue for the past few seasons. Oliver's not in the greatest amount of form. A limited preseason starting to show. Max Gawn is doing the heavy lifting week in, week out. And without Petrarca, they are just getting exposed big time with their contest and defence work, which is their DNA the past few years. So still, with the talent they have on board, the Ds, you could definitely see them push towards a final spot, but I think you can probably write them off for the flag because they've got personnel issues and they have just got massive structure issues up forward. So got the Ds in 11th. In 10th place here, I'm going to be going with the Geelong Footy Club, another side that is free falling down the ladder after sitting, I'm pretty sure, 7-0. As I said at the time, whilst they were winning the games, I still look at Geelong's midfield as a long-term issue, and now it is starting to show. The young midfield is just getting exposed quite a bit. Blitzarves and Dangerfield and Duncan and Stewart, a lot of these older players just aren't showing the same amount of output as previous years. And now Hawkins could be done for the rest of the year. Let's hope he isn't. Copped a nasty injury last week. His output's also been ordinary. Jeremy Cameron's numbers haven't been as great as the past amount of years too. And also comparing from how they played in the first 7 rounds to now, they were this really highly cohesive unit that moved the ball really well end to end. They picked apart targets. They were efficient, but just isn't looking like it now. At both ends of the ground, they looked very strong at the start of the year, but they're just getting killed defensively and just aren't moving the ball that well. They're just looking like an absolute shell of themselves. Yeah, aren't looking the great the last 5 weeks. They've only picked up the 1 win against the Tigers, and I've got them in 10th place. In 9th place here, I'm going to be going with Hawthorn. Massive rises this year, or should I say the last 2 months or so now. Their record has been outstanding. They're just playing a finals brand at the moment. They are aggressive at ground level. Their pressure has been elite. Their ground level game, I think ground ball gets, they are number 1 in the competition too. Playing with a lot more chemistry. And I think the big thing is as well, they're just mentally looking like a great team. It looks like they're really enjoying themselves out there. Almost like they've got nothing to lose. They remind me of like a 2022 Collingwood outfit, where they're just going out there, having fun week in, week out, picking up wins. Young players really now starting to show some form. Jack Ginnivan's output's been really good. Watson, still love his ticker. I know he's been inaccurate, but he's been able to bob up and show great pressure, position himself really well in the forward 50. And even their defence, that's been a big positive sign the last 2 weeks. Sicily's now starting to gain some form. Scrimshaw, could he be an All-Australian squad form? He's had an outstanding year too. Josh Weddle just keeps on getting better week in, week out. So the young players are now really starting to blossom. They're playing some fun footy. They're enjoying themselves. They're tough at it too. And yeah, they could easily push in potentially towards a final spot in the back half of the year. So I've got the Hawks in 9th. In 8th position, I am going to be going with the Giants here. They'll be around the mark for sure, and still at their best, they can be the best team in the competition for sure with how they move the ball. But if you look at their numbers the last 4 or 5 weeks, they've really dropped off with their points from defensive half. We all know the Giants at their best. They love that orange tsunami style. So because of that, they have dropped a few games. They didn't look that great against the Bulldogs, losing to the Hawks by a goal where they just got outdone in the midfield in that second half. And also a pretty exposing loss against Sydney. There are definitely questions on the Giants on can they bring back that high points from defensive half style, because that's where the Giants can get a lot of their points. A few plays down as well. Toby Green hasn't reached the heights from last year too, but they have missed out on some plays like Stephen Coniglio and etc. So they needed to come back into the side. They'll still threaten for a top 4 spot, I feel like, the Giants, but it is slightly slipping away with their past form the past month or so. But yep, still should contend for a final spot. Got the Giants in 8th. In 7th place here, going to be going with the Fremantle Dockers, having a much better year, unlike last year, playing with a lot of confidence. Their ball movement has been much better, and their midfield, for the most part, has been key to their wins. Caleb Serong and Hayden Young's having a massive year too. Also, Nat Fyfe's been down the past few weeks or so, but Brayshaw's now really started to lift. Shaun Dux was awesome against the Suns last weekend too. When they're able to really get control of the clearances and really win the stoppage game against opponents, they are a very tough side to beat. But they can have games, if their midfield is taken out of it, they can just get demolished like they did against the Western Bulldogs. So they've still got a really good young core, the Dockers. They are going to show a bit of inconsistencies, but still they are pushing towards the top 4 spot. And at their best, they can be a side that has a very damaging midfield. Behind the ball, they have been very strong too, but Alex Pearce apparently could be out for the season. Let's hope he isn't. So got the Dockers in 7th. In 6th place, I'm going to be going with the Western Bulldogs. I feel like they should be around this mark because at their best, or what they've been able to show the past 4 or 5 weeks, they can definitely push towards a final spot and be a threat in September. Compared from last year, they've really improved their defensive transition and how they move the ball. Behind the footy, Liam Jones has just been such a rock back there all year long. James O'Donnell's been a massive improvement too, but now thrown forward. As always, it's led by the likes of Macca, 𝐓𝐴 and Adam Treloar's output this year has been awesome. I think he's up there for one of the best inside midfielders in the competition based off statistics. 𝐓𝐴 𝐼𝐻𝐸 just keeps on getting better and better. But let's remember, they are still sitting in 11th place, the Dogs. They have shown inconsistencies all year long, really, but at their best, they can be a high-scoring, a damaging side in the midfield. And just with how they're going at the moment, I feel like they should be in 6th position. In 5th place now, I'm going to be going with the Brisbane Lions, and gee, they look like they are back. Interestingly enough, I did see on Twitter that the Lions are the first ever side to be currently sitting out of the top 8, but sit top 4 for points for and also points against. So their game's in really good check. You look at their numbers and their turnover game, their clearances, their points from defensive half. Most of those numbers are sitting in the top 6 from the last 5 weeks. So yeah, they look like they're really back with how they have been playing. The start of the year, they just had massive cohesion issues going forward, and defensively they were getting killed a little bit in transition. But also led with their midfield of Lachie Neale and Josh Dunkley. They've really improved their numbers. They are now starting to play like they have been the past few years. Just this awesome ball-moving side with high chemistry going forward and throughout the lines. So defensively, they're looking stronger. How they're moving the ball has been impressive, and they are getting some troops back too, potentially Will Ashcroft off the ACL. He could be back potentially this week against the D's. They're heading in the right direction, the Lions, and I've got them in 5th. Now for the top 4, in 4th place, I'm going to be going with Essendon here. Yes, I understand some people are saying, oh, they're pretenders, they've only beaten one side, I'm pretty sure it is, in the current top 8. That's all understandable, but geez, they've still been a massive improvement this year. And they're currently sitting in 3rd position with a 9-4 record. A lot of points clear of the likes of the Bulldogs and also Brisbane. So I do want to give them their flowers. From the past 5 weeks, yes, they dropped the games against the Suns and also the Blues, but they were beating the Blues quite convincingly in inside 50s. And if they were more accurate in key moments against the Suns, they honestly could have won that game. But what I've loved about when watching the Dons this year is they're just getting so many contributors now in that side, forward of the ball and also in the midfield. Jai Caldwell, Sam Durham have really improved their numbers. It isn't now all Zach Merritt or bust like it has been from last year, for example. Jake Stringer, Kyle Langford, Peter Wright, Matt Guelphy, all these names sort of bob up and can really hurt you, kick 2 or 3 goals a game. Also currently top 6 in the turnover game and also points from defensive half. So how they're moving the ball has been pretty good, but I guess their issues at the moment is they're getting a little bit more exposed now in the clearances. The absence of Darcy Parish, who I'd say probably is up there for one of their best clearance mids, is starting to show a little bit. So yeah, they definitely don't want to slip that aspect of their game away because they start off the year very good in and under and definitely in the coalface. But still, the Dons definitely warrant a spot in the top 4. Yes, they could potentially be pretenders, but still been massive improvers this year, and I've got them in 4th. In 3rd place now, it's a pretty clear top 3, but who are you going to put at 3rd? A lot of people would have their different opinions, but for me, I'm going to be putting the Pies here in 3rd. But this top 3 we have, I think one of these 3 teams can definitely win the premiership, and the Pies are a team with a lot of upside, with some troops coming back, with Tom Mitchell and Jordan De Goey and 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 and a few other names that I've definitely forgot too. Yeah, they're a side that's really now starting to build. We all know Collingwood at their best. They play a really cohesive brand. Their pressure as well has been a massive positive sign. Mental-wise, they are definitely one of the stronger sides as well, the Pies. Coming down from over 10 goals, close to 10 goals against North Melbourne. Yes, it was against the Wooden Spooners, but still absolutely incredible. And they have been playing some really impressive footy with all those outs too. So once they get their troops back, I think they'll be a lot more of a stronger team and can definitely push toward the top 2 spot and could definitely cause some havoc in September. So they've got the Pies in 3rd. In 2nd place here, I'm going to be going with Carlton. They definitely do deserve to be in 2nd place, especially with how they've played ever since that loss against the Swans. They were outside of the 8 when they did lose that game against Sydney back in round 10, but they've picked up 4 wins in a row and now currently sitting in 2nd place at 40 points. A big improvement this year with the Blues watching them is definitely their ball movement and turnover game. That was probably one of their issues coming into this year, but geez, they've really improved that area. They're now a really damaging side when they do get the ball. And also, we all know their stoppage game can definitely kill off teams, like it did in that 4th term against Port Adelaide. Paddy Cripps, I'd say he's been one of the best captains this year. He's having an outstanding season. Forward of the ball, Kerner Mackay continue to punish opposition's key defenders. Behind the ball, Wettering has been an absolute rock, definitely up there in all Australian contention. Brodie Kemp is having a really good past few weeks as well. Surely he stays in the side. Still don't understand why he has been dropped across the span of this year. I think as well the bottom 6 or bottom 8 of that best 22, the Blues are now starting to play some good footy, and that's always been the issue. I think when you look at Carlton, it's all about the stars, but now starting to get a lot more from those role players. And also similar to the Hawks, it just looks like they're having fun out there. They're playing with this high level of confidence, moving the ball great, damaging side inside the contest too with their stoppage game. So they're now really starting to peak at the right time, the Blues, looking like a damaging team inside and outside, and I've got them in 2nd. And in 1st place, it is quite simple here, going to be going with the Sydney Swans. I did see Jared Waitley put Sydney at 2nd. How can you do that? I know I'm a Swan supporter, but like to keep things level-headed, but come on. The Swans are sitting 13-1, 3 games clear off 2nd place with a percentage of 148.8%. It's pretty obvious Sydney are head and shoulders above the competition at the moment. And I say that clearly at the moment. I'm not trying to jinx us. I don't want us to choke for goodness sake. But yeah, the Swans have been a joy to watch this year. The role players have played their parts. The stars just keep on chugging along. The midfield has been damaging in and under, but also on the outside they can get you off the turnover game and points from defensive half, and their pressure as well has been fantastic when they're on song, and just how they kill off teams with these surges like they did against the Crows, kicking I think 10 or something unanswered goals. 2nd quarter stoppage dominance against the Giants. The 2nd quarter they ran over the top of the Cats. The Blues just killed them off the centre bounce. inside the contest, that was definitely their issue coming into this year, the Swans. But through the likes of Brodie Grundy, who's been massive to their contested game, their stoppage game has been awesome to watch and been a massive tick. Forward of the ball, they just have so many contributors. For 1 week, it could be Joel Amani that kicks 9 goals, or it could be Will Hayward that could kick a couple as well. But let's be honest, it's mainly their midfield with all those score involvements through the likes of Heaney, Warder, Goulden. Rowbottom's been a player that's been massively under the radar with his centre bounce work and his contested work. So they're just a well-oiled machine at the moment, the Swans. Yes, people say, are they peaking too early? But they've basically overcome any challenge that's been thrown at them. Teams have pushed them, but they just run away these surges. Awesome team to watch forward of the ball. A highly cohesive unit. They're playing with a lot of confidence. It looks like they're having fun on and off the field. Swannies easily in first at the moment. So everyone, there are my power rankings at the end of round 15 for the 2024 AFL season. These are always debatable, so let me know your power rankings down below. Would you switch a few teams around? That's definitely fair enough, but with how current form is going, definitely got some sides above others, and etc. and vice versa. So hopefully to enjoy, everybody. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did go on to enjoy, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.